Welcome to 10 Talk, where the personality's on 10, the conversation's on 100. The conversation's on 10, the personality's on 100. Everything on 100 today. We lit.
We
Now,
lit.
usually, we be talking about married at first sight, y'all. But today, we want to get into something a little bit more devout. So, hot off the presses, I have gotten word that Mecca Church pastor John Gray has been caught cheating on his significant other yet again. His wife,
Again.
his Boaz. Wait, his rib. Well, maybe she his McRib. I don't know. So, Lacey, for all the people at home who don't know what the story is, give us some more information.
Hey y'all. So Pastor John Gray is based out of Houston. He's a mega church pastor, as Sharif already said. He has a huge following on social media, and he has been caught in the press and apologized on numerous occasions for cheating on his wife, Pastor Aventure Gray. So what I want to know is, if this is the times he's been caught, how many times has he not been caught?
Let that marinate for a little bit. We're going to let that marinate for just a second.
How many times has he not been on the World Wide Web? Okay, that's what I want to know. Because I don't know. I'm not the Pharisees, nor am I this side of cheese. And, I have my fair share of sins. But I'm not a pastor either, so sip on that.
And I'm not no Aristotle. I'm not no Socrates. But you don't need philosophy to know that there's there's a hot mess.
A whole mess. So I want to read a comment from number one. She sent in her opinions to my text message. And what number one said is, the misconception to me is that people put men and women in ministry in these "you aren't human" boxes, or they don't struggle with sin just because they are leaders. Now Sabrina is over there eye rolling. What's the tea, sis?
The T is, we don't put them in those positions. They put themselves in those positions. And then they want to get in front of the church and preach one thing and do another. You do not have to be married to be a preacher. If you want to be thotting and bopping and hipping and hopping and doing all this stuff and, dropping it low during the whole pandemic, you can do those things. But why are you married? Why are you in the church telling people how to stay married, how to get married, how to be married, how to act married, and you can't keep it in your pants in a pandemic, sir? It's a pandemic outside, and your pants tight. Like, I know it takes a village to get inside them pants, so you already did too much. You can be single,
And your pants will start.
because I'm like, it takes a whole lot to do this. So you have to put your church to the side, your faith to the side, your wife to the
Mm.
side, your responsibility to the side, your congregation to the side. You didn't care about none of that.
Mm-hmm.
You did. And like Lexi said, if you got caught once, you've been doing it a whole lot of times that you didn't get caught. So my biggest problem is, you are being actively deceptive every time you step in that pulpit.
I was thinking, I had a few thoughts. So, first, I want to firstly address the thought and bopping comment that my sister made. First of all, I agree. Y'all trying to be you don't want to be Lil J on the track so bad. I love it when she rock her hips and wave and sip. Y'all trying to get that 32 flavors with that bootylicious bubble gum, and we don't have time for it.
My thing is, as well, is you're going and talking about how I understand that there's people who are not going to want to listen to my messages anymore after this, and blah 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 blah. You didn't think about that when you was committing the act? Are you that psychotic? Are you that, like, what's the word? You are so
Narcissistic?
narcissistic. You are so narcissistic that you felt as though, you know what, whatever I do, whatever happens, happens, and oh well. Like, you're not out here trying to represent a risen savior named Jesus.
You know what this reminds me of? This a story that came out. Honestly, I don't know how many months ago it came out because all the months have been blended together at this point. I don't know when anything happened, but relatively recently, in the grand scheme of things, Andrew Gilliam, who's I think he was the governor of Florida at one point, he got caught in that scandal where he was in a hotel room. They don't know exactly what happened, but they said they found like meth and they found like poppers and stuff. And then apparently the rumor is that he was spending the night with a couple gentlemen callers. Now that kind of remind me of this story because it's like it goes back to what my sister was saying again about we did like y'all put yourself in these positions and then get mad that you gotta like do what the position entails. It's like to bring it back to Married at First Sight real quick. It's like Karen, you signed up to be married. So why don't you not want to do what is required of married people? You signed up to be a politician. If you didn't want to represent the state politically, socially, economically, whatever, don't do the job. Because I get it. I do not want to be responsible for nobody's finances but my own. And I barely want to be responsible for those.
But my question is are we putting a little bit of a different weight on a governor versus a pastor? Because yes, governors have sworn things they're supposed to do, and I don't know what it is to be a governor, but I sure know what it means to abide by the law and the book of Jesus. And in that book, it says no adultery. It also says no fornication, but so I'm just gonna shut up.
My whole thing again is we did not sign up for this. You want to be the head of the church. You didn't want to be a parishioner. You wanted to get all the accolades from being a pastor. You said you were called to be a pastor. Then answer your calling and close your legs. Like, I don't understand. It's not that difficult.
Like, well, sorry, go ahead.
I'm just saying it's not that difficult. And if you are struggling, you have all of the, what is it called? All of the
resources?
The resources, yes, thank you. All the resources to get help with that before you commit the act. Because you don't just go out and commit the act. And I don't believe it was one time. You set it up. You had to actively be pursuing this. Day after day, you getting up lying to yourself, lying to your spouse, lying to the church. So you actively doing this daily and not seeking any help or guidance. So I don't have no kind of sympathy for you. Yes, we are all human. Yes, we all make mistakes. But you didn't make a mistake and admit to it and apologize. You got caught numerous times. Grow. This is not helping the body of Jesus in any way, not helping the church. So you could really just go away. But you still want that title, you still want them checks, and you still want that car you driving and that lifestyle you used to. So you won't just gracefully say, this might be too much for me to handle.
Yeah.
Obviously, I need to go get myself together. I need to step down. I need to take myself out of the spotlight, work on my marriage, do this, go get counseling. You said none of that. You said, you know what? I love thought and bopping, and
Well, he said, and I quote, God can and will use anyone. At the end of the day, nobody is perfect.
All I'm gonna say is whatever Rich Homie Quan said of that song, he cheated on his rib just to live this here lifestyle. But basically, to add on to what you were saying, one thing I thought about is like again talk about like, well, he has the wherewithal to deal with all this. It's one of those things where that's another problem I personally have with sometimes with how a lot of churches operate. Because a lot of people don't think that like things that are secular have a place in the church. And I don't agree with that. I feel like a lot of people have like real world skills and abilities and whatnot that could be very helpful in a spiritual setting. For example, marriage counselors or motivational speakers, teachers, and things like that. And we don't utilize these people in positions and capacities to where they can really do the best work for the collective good. I feel like a lot of pastors sometimes they have this idea that, well, I'm the pastor, so I run this around here. You don't run none, you don't run me. So they don't want to delegate anything. They don't really want to like focus on like mentorship. There's a lack of mentorship, there's lack of leadership, I think, in the church in a lot of places. And I feel like
Well,
a lot
his
of people
leader
didn't
is
listen to
Joel
church.
Osteen, so that tells you all you need to know about the lack of leadership he has. Just saying.
True. And I think it speaks to why a lot of people, especially like in our generation, have started to like really peel back from the church.
Mm-hmm.
Because for a lot of us, the church doesn't really fulfill any of our like needs to function as like healthy members of society. The church, for a lot of people, and of course, as far as historically, especially in the Black community, the church was a big like community center in a way. But
And
nowadays,
political center.
I feel like we've lost that in a lot of ways. I feel like it's more so you don't really feel like you have a place there, so it's easier to be. It's easier. Well, one, the ostracization is like larger, but it's also easier to not want to show up because it's kind of like, well, I mean, I feel like I'm not getting anything out of this anyway. I'm just here because I'm here. It's like that one relationship that you just like justify. It's like, well, I mean, but I've been going to church for 20, 30, whatever odd years. I gotta keep going, but then you don't really sit there and really think of like, is this actually nurturing to me and my spirit?
Mm-hmm.
It's a routine, not a relationship.
Exactly, and that is definitely a problem.
Which is so
Another problem,
sad to me.
another problem about it, like just being very routine, is that I've heard this personally in churches. A lot of like the older people like to say, "Well, we need young people. We stuck in our ways. We need y'all to like show us how to do things. We need to show you how to do." But y'all don't listen to them. It's like y'all don't listen to the people under you. Y'all don't listen to the younger crowd. And how are you going to really put the onus on them to fix all of these structural issues if you don't
Mm-hmm.
even give them a real, solid and legitimate voice to really speak on behalf of themselves?
And that's why, like, these kind of situations make me so upset because every church has their problems, because every church is comprised of imperfect people trying to do the best that they can. However, when you are on a stage as large as these mega pastors and you're basically making it almost okay that you're out here embarrassing your wife, embarrassing your church, embarrassing God, embarrassing yourself on this huge platform with this title as a pastor, I don't like it because I feel like we have to work so hard sometimes just to reframe who God is because of these churches.
I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. I don't keep making the same mistake.
Right,
If
right.
I kept making the same mistake, nobody would trust me. If they made the same mistakes in a business arena where they kept stealing from people, nobody would trust them. You couldn't be able to get a loan no more. But because it's
Point.
church, we're supposed to just forgive. No, you haven't shown us
Point.
anything to make us forgive. Forgiveness is out there. Like, I could forgive, but we not like, it's just dumb when you haven't put forth the work to actually make a change. And then you want to get up in the pulpit and tell us the keys that we need, but you don't have the keys. So who am I listening to? Am I listening to who you are, who you pretending to be? Am I listening to what God is saying? Is God even talking to you? Because you ain't talking to God. I know God didn't tell you to go cheat on your wife. So who are you talking to? So how are we supposed to know?
I agree. I really do. Another thing that I want to address is this whole idea when it comes to the church about like y'all always want to be like, oh, we a place for like the sick, the like traumatized, this, that, and the other. But then y'all denigrate these same people who have these issues. It's like if I'm coming to you like, listen, I'm really struggling with whatever it is. Maybe it doesn't have to be anything like major, major. It could be something like I'm really struggling with depression. And
Mm-hmm.
then you go into church and then like they're like, well, why are you not talking to nobody? Why you got this look on your face? Why you don't want to
Mm-hmm.
participate? Why you don't never show up? That's
Mm-hmm.
not going to make you want to do anything. It's
Right.
a saying that I learned a long time ago. Don't it's like don't punish behavior you want to see. Or as I like to call it, provoke what you want more of. So it's like if you want someone to do certain good things or things that you deem as good in this sort of situation, in this circumstance, then you need to like show behavior that reinforces their efforts, that makes them feel
Mm-hmm.
seen, that makes them feel heard, that makes them feel that the changes they're striving for and the strides they're making are worth something. Because honestly, if I don't feel like my contributions are worth anything, I won't be there.
And I think it's a good point you said when you finally show up. Maybe it's been 20 weeks instead of somebody being happy to see you. It's more like where you been, not how have you been, but where you been. You know? Oh, I'm so glad to see you. Oh, I would, or did they even call to check on you when you weren't coming? Not to see why you're not here, but are you okay as a person? You know? So I think that's a conversation about how you talk to people to get them to want to continue that behavior. If I show up and everybody's like, oh, she ain't been here in 20 days and 20 nights and she got on the same dress she had on last time, I'm not coming back.
At all. At all.
Me
And I
either.
think it's really important too, just to be able to look out when we've been that way, or like talking for myself, like when I've been that way where I'm like super judgmental on someone, and it's like that doesn't make anyone draw to want to be around the church. That doesn't make anyone want to be here. Like the true church house should be somewhere where a prostitute can walk off the street in her prostitution clothes and be like, I need Jesus. And nobody sit there and talk bad about her. But that's just not the reality.
At all.
And a part of the problem is a lot of people in the church, and obviously not everybody, but enough, like definitely enough to where it needs to be stated. A lot of people in the church have this problem where we like to pretend when we're in the church that we've been perfect, we've been saved, sanctified, whatever, our entire lives. We like to pretend that like now because we done got a little like Jesus juice up in us a little bit, that everything you did back in 1977 ain't happened. And again, this is not to cast judgment on nobody because I get it. We all people, we all do stuff, we all make mistakes, like my sister said, and like we all just like make choices that like maybe at the time made sense to us, but don't make sense to us in the future. But it's like you can't just pretend that it didn't exist.
But also, I think it was different about the church is you can literally have a calling, but not have the tools or assets for that calling.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So they put people in positions of power that aren't good with power because
Mm-hmm.
they don't have the tools. Just because you can preach really well and you do have a voice and you do have a passion doesn't mean you necessarily have the tools to lead people
Mm-hmm.
or the tools to be a whole person yourself or feel like you are valuable without having the church behind you. So
Right.
I think that it should be a more of a conversation of how do you adequately prepare people? How do you help you? I don't say you have to live in a paper box, but how do you help the community be financially stable in yourself? You should also have some counseling, some
Mm-hmm.
real counseling, not just spiritual counseling, but counseling. What did you go through when you were younger? You may have seen this, and this. And yes, God may have brought you out of that, but you still have some remnants of that. If you don't deal with it, it will
Mm-hmm.
show up in ways you don't want it to.
Right.
And everybody say the devil always busy. Then you need to have more tools in your toolbox to be able to effectively lead the church, effectively be a pastor, but be a good human. Because
Mm-hmm.
my whole, I don't really care about the pastor aspect. I just think it's a garbagey thing to be caught doing over and over again, being just wholeheartedly deceitful to so many people for such a long time, over and over again,
Right.
and
Right.
then be sloppy enough to get caught. So not only are you sloppy, you also dumb. 'Cause it ain't that
And then
hard.
they
So Sharif had made a point earlier about like Aventure and like Aventure's reaction to it. And I saw a clip from like last year where she was like pretty much going off on Satan, saying Satan's trying to destroy her household, talking bad about the woman he was dealing with, all these things. And I'm like, Aventure, sis, like, we ain't gonna blame everything on the devil now. Blame something on your husband.
Okay, I got two comments based on what you just said. One, if the devil, they say the devil's always busy. Yeah, because you keep giving him work. Maybe if you sat yourself down now, the devil wouldn't have so much to do. But you always gotta be, y'all be patronizing the devil's establishments and then be wondering why he always in your recommended.
You always leave
That was
the door been cracked.
And number two, maybe the problem is she low-key married to the devil. We don't know. And I'm not trying to like denigrate nobody, but you know, they say lust will make you do some crazy things, they say.
It sure will.
But and my thing is just to go back to your point too, Lacey, about how we can't blame everything on the devil. Also, like y'all spend so much time. I feel like a lot of people in general spend so much time when they get cheated on. Instead of looking at like you and your relationship, like, wow, this person that I thought was signed up to like care about me, signed up to love me, that like we had this like agreement, we had this like bond and whatnot. They really ain't about nothing, huh? Y'all go to rush to blame the other party. And it's like, if they know they still wrong, but they're not as wrong as the person you are dealing with, they don't have, at the end of the day, they still don't have any loyalty to you. The person you married has loyalty to you. The person you have a house with, you have finances intertwined. You may have kids with this man. That's where your loyalty is. So why are you giving all this energy to like his the jump offs of the world, and you're not looking at the pilot instructor, the like parachute instructor?
Sharice analogies, bro. No, but for real, Sharif, like it's you can't blame the other person because at the end of the day, you and your husband took vows, not you and the side piece. You and your husband took vows. Sabrina, what's your face for? You about to beat up the side piece?
As someone who has been the side piece before and had this speech with people. Because this is the problem. I can tell this is my problem. I can tell the truth about myself.
Right.
It's not that hard to tell the truth about yourself. This is what I say. It is true. You can't blame the third party. It's between two people. But my thing is, we keep looking at it from an outsider's perspective. They have their own marriage.
That's
and
true.
If it's happening multiple times, I have a feeling that she might have that thing where don't let me find out, or I'm not going to ask them any questions because I don't want to know the answers.
Yeah.
Right. I see what you're saying. She's the type of person to where it's
what I don't know won't hurt me.
Right. Like, you can go do what you want. It's like, it's kind of like, just don't embarrass me. Don't make me look stupid.
But also, I think the problem with that too is she might be a little bit attached to the lifestyle or might not have an identity outside of him and the lifestyle. And that goes back to having other things in the church that works on things besides being a wife and a helpmate and a this. Who are you as a person?
Right.
You can be a whole person with or without this man. I understand he may be here. You may feel like this is the only way I got here, but you have to be a whole complete person with or without this person.
Yep.
And if they have some sort of agreement in their marriage, that's between them. But I just be wanting everybody to keep it real and stop lying to their congregation. I'm just tired of people taking advantage of vulnerable people, because most of the people that are in the church giving they last and giving they tithes when they can't pay their bills, they don't care about all this that we talking about. They are really having faith in God and trying to make a life and trying to live right. And then you have all these people misleading them, lying to them, taking advantage. And we all seen those people who are old, can't even get a visit, can't even get a basket. And that it's always that one church member who always going to the house, usually our mama. And anyway, so
you're right about that.
But you know what I mean? It's always that one person who takes on it for everybody, and then that burden goes to that one person, whereas it should be the burden of the church as a church body. But what happens is you got this one person at the top lying to all these other people, these people under him start getting disheartened and disenfranchised, and then they just start thinking about themselves. And
Mm-hmm.
people who end up missing out are all the vulnerable people, the lost spirits, lost souls, the people who don't have nowhere else to go. This is
Right.
their family. This
Right.
is this is their hope. Sometimes people just go to church for some hope and relief
Mm-hmm. Yes.
and an escape from their day to
Yeah.
day life.
Yes.
Like, I'm not saying we all are rich, but we are very blessed
Right.
to have at least some roofs over our head and, food on our table. A lot of people come to these situations in these churches and they going through all kind of stuff.
Homeless, trying to get
Abuse,
food.
no jobless, joblessness.
Right. Right.
And these people are living these lives telling them that sin is this, and if you just did this, then God will bless you. And if you just do this, then God will bless you. They've been doing all the right things and you lying to them.
Yep. Yep.
And they got to deal with all this fallback and all this hurt because you weren't thinking about them. You were just thinking
Mm-hmm.
about yourself and this position of power.
And then once they go back in the street and they back to doing what they was doing before they stepped into the church walls to survive, whatever that might be, legal or illegal, now you want to talk about them. Now you're posting about them on Facebook.
Now you're using them in your next sermon as an
Right.
example
Right.
of what not to do.
In front of them while they're sitting right there.
Yeah. Making people feel bad. They come here for hope. They come here for guidance. You berate them for an hour, send them home, and then go cheat on your wife and ask for tithes and offering.
It
Terrible.
reminds me of there's like a comedy bit by a comedian I really like named Angela Johnson. And she has this little bit about how some people in the church use a prayer request to disguise the fact that they're just gossiping. So they'll get all like holy, be like, okay, come on, y'all, let's get a prayer circle all together. We need to pray. We need to pray. Then the whole prayer, they just like talking bad about somebody, like, we just need to pray. What if I was like, we need to pray for Lacey right now? Because I don't know if nobody knows this, but she's pregnant.
She's
And
not.
God,
That's
Lacey's not
FYI.
pregnant.
She's
Disclaimer,
not.
Lacey is not pregnant. Disclaimer. But it's like she pregnant and God, you're so wonderful, you gracious, you merciful. We thank you. And we hope that on this day you can show her who her father is of that baby. Show her who the father is. For
Sharif, what's the
and all this,
point? Get
this,
to the
that, and
point,
the other.
please.
So we're like, see, you were doing something you shouldn't have been doing. Now what was nobody's business is everybody's business.
Right.
And that's my point. Whereas because
But
you want to get so involved, you don't have any tact. I feel like that's why I feel like spiritual or like counselors, like pastors and stuff, should be held to like similar standards as like clinical psychologists and stuff.
absolutely,
Doctors have like some form of confidentiality that you're supposed
absolutely,
to hold.
I
I
agree.
100%. Do you guys think that Pastor Gray should step down?
Yes,
Honestly, I do think he should, but the way I feel also is that ain't my church. I'm not gonna make it my problem. If they cool, if you like it, I love it. If this don't bother you, you can look past it. Which I'm not saying that like you have to like be mad forever that you can't like look past or forgive something like this. If you choose to forgive this, that's on you. And if she's gonna be committed to staying by her husband, then I ain't got nothing else to say. It's not my business at the end of the day, and I'm not
I
gonna make it my
personally
business.
say a prayer for all the women in that church that are now being cheated on by their husbands, and their husbands think it's okay to cheat on them, and then just apologize because that's what their leader are doing. Because sheep follow their shepherd, and if they really devoted, they will be like, okay, Pastor Gray, for sure. We just could.
And they was lambs to the slaughter, the slaughterhouse. And also, can we say another prayer? Like, can we add another prayer? You know what?
Yeah.
We're just gonna like have to add like the prayer tallies. We gonna make this whole episode a prayer request. We got another prayer that I would like to request on behalf of these people. I pray for his wife to really find herself again. Because it goes back to what my sister was talking about. Too many times, two people forget how to be separate individual people when they're in a relationship. I've seen it happen all my life. You find somebody that maybe you gel with, maybe you have like some interests in common, but then when you together, it's like you're a blob of person. You don't know how to be individual people anymore. And my thing is, I feel like that's one of her problems. Maybe I can't. Obviously, I don't know enough. I'm not gonna pretend I know enough. I'm just somebody with an opinion and an iPhone, like most of the world.
Like most of us, okay?
But in my personal opinion, it's also like I gotta give her the side eye too, because I'm like, this ain't the first time. It ain't the second time. I don't believe it's even the third time. I feel it's been happening for a while, like y'all both believe too. And my thing is, it's like something a wise person once told me this. If you know in your heart you not gonna leave, then shut it and let that man go and cheat in peace.
Hallelujah.
Who's our wise person? Evelyn Braxton?
Yep.
Braxton Family Values? Because Mama Braxton for sure said that.
I believe it too. Leave him alone. Stop nagging. Stop. If you go stay and be happy. Stay and drive your Rolls Royce. Stay and wear your church hat. Stay and shout in the aisles and shut up. We don't want to hear about it. Stay.
And leave the side piece alone and let her slide in peace. Side in peace.
Unless he is taking advantage of that side piece, then you need to step up, because a lot of people abuse power as well. That's a part we didn't talk about or discuss, but I just want to put that into the universe. If he is using his position of power to take advantage of younger parishioners, then you need to be protecting that second person and not judging them, because men do that a lot.
And I want to say too, if you are being taken advantage of, and maybe that's why you ain't left, I also want you to be safe, to be holy, be protected. I want you to find pull wherever you can from out yourself. Maybe you got to pull it from way, way deep down in the Jesus womb. Maybe you got to just pull it up.
And if there are any young girls watching, if you are in your teens or even early 20s, and a man that's in his 40s, 50s is trying to talk to you, it's not because he thinks you're mature. It's not because he thinks that you're so amazing. It's because he knows he can run game all up on you. Okay. Just a little tidbit of love and care.
I have one last thing to say about this subject, and then I'm all subject out, because you know how I feel about these men. I want all these women to also stop protecting these raggedy men. Start telling the truth about them. Start professing the truth about them. Tell the truth about yourself too, because we are not above sin, none of us. But if you allow somebody to keep using and abusing their parishioners, you are culpable, and you should also be held accountable, and you need to be calling these people out. And if you're sitting there being silent when you know people are being taken advantage of, then something is wrong with you. You're abusing your power. You should not be in power.
Period. And that goes for parents. That goes for anybody. Preachers, teachers, all of the above. Any closing remarks?
Doctors, lawyers, and all. Again, closing remarks. I'd like to wish everybody who watching us a blessed and powerful day. I hope that y'all getting to the money and making everybody mad. I'm hoping that you ain't mad and you glad.
Hallelujah.
Remember, another thing that I just want to leave y'all with: hating people ain't happy, and happy people ain't hating.
And just so y'all are clear, we do not believe that all pastors are bad and that all churches are bad, because there are some amazing pastors out there that are leading their calling and that are doing the work of God and are amazing and need all of their respect and all of their flowers. And that's why we have to call out the bad ones, because they making the good ones look bad. All
And
right.
pay the good ones a living wage so they don't have to be working and Hebrew slaving out here while y'all giving these philanderers Mercedes Benz and
Right.
Bentleys when they got on too tight pants and cheating on their wives.
And that will be all for this episode of Tin Talk. Thank you again for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. You can now follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Tin Talk 1981. Have a great day. Bye.
Click the notification bell down below too.
And if you are watching this and you ain't subscribed, you might be a hater.
Yeah, actually, yep. I wasn't gonna say it, but since you did, I'm glad you did. Why you sitting there? Why you stalking us? You must have liked it.
Like it because you like it.
Click the little button. It's free. What you cheap? You ain't got no. If you ain't got no money, it's free. You ain't need none. Click the little button.
Click the button. Go ahead, Lacey. Tell the period. Put the period on there.